So, hey guys, I'm here with the coach of H2K, Pr0lly. Almost forgot it. Nah, we good. So this week kinda like distributed another like top 4 into like the bottom 6, I would say. How does it affect the standings, like in your regard as a team? Like, do you think you have to fear any team right now, or are you looking out for a specific team to watch maybe that could compete with you?
This split is really different than like the last 2 splits I went coaching, mostly because like a super dominant team isn't prevalent right now, like Fnatic was and OG to a certain extent, where you basically have to watch their games and try to like figure out what they're doing and kind of emulate that. And right now, there's no teams that are doing things like right consistently. Like sometimes they'll have like, good mid games, bad mid games, good late games, bad late games. Like sometimes they snowball well, sometimes they just like hold on to a lead and never really grow it. So right now, there's nothing really to fear. It's just I have to primarily focus on just what we're doing and kind of scrutinize us a lot more. When in previous seasons, I could like look at other teams for inspiration. Like right now, there's inspiration is like, cool, I like Rocks Tigers. I mean, everyone does, but I think they have a play style that's like really easy to copy from. And I think that's a really good baseline to kind of grow off of.
So H2K had a different roster last year, but we're always known for like a strategically good, clean gameplay kinda. And now it's like a different roster, but you can still see like the similarities between both rosters. Do you think you would attribute that a bit like to your coaching style, or is it just like maybe lucky from like the player's perspective?
I mean, I'm sure I have to be in there a bit because I know it's probably really aggravating to like work with me 8 to 10 hours a day and then try to ignore what I say for those 8 to 10 hours because that'll be really annoying. I'm like, let's do this, guys, let's do this. So I'm sure when they're playing, even if they don't want to think about it, they can hear me being annoying in their head, and that kind of gives them some kind of direction. So hopefully that's some kind of influence by me, but so far we haven't had the clean, perfect like macro game that I want us to have. So there's still a lot of annoying left to do to get us to the point we need to be. But the good point, or the good difference between this H2K compared to the last one, it's like the macro play is definitely the same, but now I can kind of push them into doing more things on the map than playing slowly because the players are just so good individually, Like I can give them, like a 50-50 play, and I'm confident they'll outplay the enemy team. When before I really had to like focus on like 80-20 plays and stuff like that and push the team towards that way.
All right, so touching on last question, like in terms of different rosters, you guys played with a Selfie for like a majority of the games. Was it that easy to just plug him in and say, hey, you gonna play this champion and you just do this and this in the game and we're gonna win? Or what was the general like mindset of having like Rio replaced, and what was it like to have Rio back right now in this week?
Replacing Ryu with Selfie was actually pretty easy for scrims. I mean, comms went a little bit haywire for a bit because we needed like the loudest person to be there, so it kind of forced Odo and Yonkos and Vander to kind of step up a bit when before they could fall back on Ryu. Because I didn't want to put Selfie in a spot where he needs to fill Ryu's spot. Like we put Selfie on the team and I was like, all right, we'll see like what he does well, and then we'll kind of complement that style. I felt like it'd be just the wrong way to kind of try to mold him into our own team instead of molding us to him that kind of meets in the middle. So let's see. The scrims were going fine. Like the comms went well. And then when we got to LCS and we'd like review how our comms were, the confidence was so low. Not like in terms of people wanting to play, but confidence in calls. Like, we should go here, as opposed to, we're going over here, guys. Like the direction was correct, but it was kind of like, no one had played without Ryu on stage, so no one was the one that was like kind of trying to be the big boss that you kind of need in a team. So LCS was kind of hard. I think we went like 2-0 or 1-1 the first week. I think we went 2-0 the first week with Selfie. But those games were hard, and then that problem kept persisting through the weeks. And then when we got Ryu back this last week, it kind of picked up from a more like advanced spot, because now we've been basically practicing without this loud caller. So now Ryu has a little bit less pressure on his shoulders. Like if he's in like a bad matchup or something, like now we have Yonkos and Vander and Odo practicing. So before, if like Ryu didn't get a good matchup, shot calling took a hit. Now everyone got to practice without Ryu, so now Ryu still has his own shot calling spot, but it's less relied on. So I think it was a pretty good practice regimen we had going.
All right, that seems very insightful. So moving back a bit about this team stuff, more about meta stuff. What do you think about the current picks, like Rumble Jungle maybe, Ramos top lane, or all other crazy things like Kog'Maw maybe?
Man, can I cuss in interviews? No.
No, you can't.
Everything is bullcrap right now. Everything is just so aggravating. I hate pick and ban is the worst it's ever been that I've ever been a part of. Yeah. So it's basically cool, they can play Lulu Cog right now, or cool, they can play Alistair Lysandra Rumble. It's you can build every single broken comp right now, and I feel the game's moving more into you need to quickly gather the OP picks and learn them, and then be able to play them at a really high level. When before it's you saw when Gangplank was OP, people were terrible at Gangplank, but he was just at such a high level it didn't matter. So now the champions aren't at this broken OP level, but they're at a OP level that when you learn them, it's well, now you kind of got to ban it. So I don't know. Team comps right now are we saw Vitality do their Bardzillion where they just run around the map all game and avoid fights, and then you'll see the super hard engage stuff, and then you see the Nidalee Varus quirky comps that I'm not a big fan of, but they're there. So I mean, I don't know. There's too many good picks right now, which I guess is a good thing for diversity, but it makes it really hard in terms of pick ban because week by week, so many new things are coming out. You're in a constant state of panic. You need is this actually a good comp? We have 4 days to practice this comp to see if it's good or not. So there's just not enough time to really test out all the champs, test out all the comps. You kind of have to pick what you guys like and then hope you picked correctly.
Damn. So if I see this right, there are too many variables right now in the game, and you would like to cut it down to less champions?
Well, maybe not that, but maybe have what's a way to put it? Well, the certain ones that are bullshit, damn it. The ones that are Gangplank's obviously getting nerfed on PBE and stuff like that. Gangplank's one, that's just, he's still in a spot that's too broken. I think Kog'Maw's in a spot where all you have to do is build a comp around it, and which is really easy. And he becomes kind of broken. And then I think those are probably the two most. I think Rumble in the Jungle is pretty good. I think people are just really bad at it right now. The few times I've watched Rumble in the Jungle, I'm I feel he should be doing a lot more. But I like the fact that he'll bring some kind of team fight presence, so maybe people will start picking more hard engage. And I think the Dragon buff was actually really good for the meta. I think Gragas is kind of similar to Rumble. I haven't seen the best Gragas plays yet because I guess no one's played him for months. But I think once people get good at Gragas, he's going to become a big staple. But I don't know. I think everything's really good. I think mid lane's probably the worst right now because nothing's broken mid and nothing's bad mid. Everything is just pretty even mid. I can't think of what Victor's getting nerfed already. So and Victor's already in a spot where you had to be good on him to actually carry. So I feel there's just mid champions are just a wash. Bot lane I think is pretty obvious. You see Alistar, Braum, Thresh, Bard every single game. And the occasional Soraka. I hope that doesn't happen. I'm going to be really mad if EU starts playing Soraka more. I've seen it once, but please don't play Soraka, guys. Come on. Come on. You want to play League, right? Don't play Soraka. But other than that, yeah.
What about Ziggs? I know you're a Ziggs expert, right? Yeah? Or yeah. Kennen maybe?
Kennen's terrible, man. Kennen makes me so sad. He'll never be in the meta. And I know Vitality's a team who's played him twice. And I'm yay, they picked Kennen. And then I watch it and I'm oh my god, Kennen's so terrible. Sometimes they win with it, but I'm it's not because of Kennen. That champion is just not that great right now. Poor guy. But Ziggs, I think Ziggs might be in a decent spot. The only thing is if you pick Ziggs against I don't know, Forgiven or someone who's really good mechanically, you're never gonna hit that Q. You have to basically buy Lichbane and just auto him, and that's your damage. So I feel he's risky against really good teams. I would still play him, obviously, in solo queue because people aren't the greatest. But the higher the skill level, in competitive, I feel it's still in that spot where you'll never land a Q. Your ult will do a lot though, so I guess you can just R and then be a bot.
Talking about Forgiven, actually, it's really interesting to see how he molds in the team because he's he stood out as like this, let me do what I want, pick me Lucian kind of thing, I will 1-on-9. But it seems like with you guys, he's like finding his spot in a team, I would say, and like it's like, hey, I don't have to carry the game, I can just leave it to other people. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think the teams he's been on before were really bad for him. Like, not in terms of skill, but in terms of like how he thinks about the game. So hopefully this environment like helps him kind of go more towards teamwork, as like cheesy as that sounds and preachy. Like, it is really important to have teamwork, even for someone as like mechanically skilled as Forgiven. Like, that's the one thing he needs to be focusing on. And I don't know, he's a really respectful guy, and he has like a philosophy. So if you kind of understand his philosophy, you'll know why he's doing certain things, and it doesn't seem like out of place from him. It's like, you know, if I believe that, I would do the same thing. So a lot of his things are really, you know, justified, and they make sense. It's kind of like we're just working on, you know, longevity, you know, keeping him on the team for as long as possible, because he's been on, what, like 4 or 5 teams in the last year. So I think he's really understood that that's like one of his weaknesses, and so he's working on that. And I don't know, for me, like as a coach, when I know players are like giving back, it like means a lot. So Forgiven like means a lot on this team, because me and him have gotten a lot of like give and take. So I really kind of appreciate that. I'm really happy he's like growing into that, but still retaining his like mechanical skill, because that was like a worry that I had from his previous teams, where they like want to put him on like Sivir or Quirky or something wave clear, where he seemed like he just sat in a place where he wasn't able to perform as well as he does on other champions. So now like he's giving back to the teamwork point of view, but he's not losing that mechanical edge that he's had. Like, yeah, you saw him like Lucian, even like Quirky and stuff like that. He's still doing like super ham stuff. So I'm really glad like it's not taking away from, you know, his spotlight, and it's just kind of like growing him as a person.
All right, thank you so much for that insight. That was very good, and yeah, best of luck for your entire split. Maybe even get that first victory, maybe. The trophy, maybe, yeah. If you want to check out more stuff from me, check out theScore eSports.com. We have a couple of interviews there, and yeah, see you next time. Thank you so much for watching.